Good
morning.
Taking this act on the road.
Kelin and Joe in the morning here on Youngstown Studio. How you doing, Miss K?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
How was your weekend?
Was there a line of demarcation between where productivity ended and where it began? Because it felt like it was just a mishmash of people in self-destruction mode. That was just my observation.
That was your
weekend?
Was
there really a weekend? I couldn't tell where the weekend was.
Oh.
What do you got?
I had a solid weekend. I didn't do shit.
Okay.
I was sick last week, and so I was fighting that, and I was like, that's it. I'm getting better this weekend. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. I had my Mucinex and my NyQuil and the couch. And that's all I freaking did. And I feel great this morning.
That's awesome.
Compared to last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you get first crack. What are you going to talk about? A lot of weekend stuff happened.
Listen, that's all I did. You're going to have to lead. My weekend was like bad TV.
Well,
Netflix.
Let's kick off with Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro deposed. What are your thoughts on this first before I give you my academic observation?
I mean, you're going to have a lot better of an observation. I'm still getting bits and pieces of what happened, of who he was. Obviously, one side is like, he's this horrific dictator and this is such great news and everyone's celebrating. And then you have the other side that's like, United States is overreaching and we're being the dictators and blah, blah, blah. And so I don't know much about this guy. But it seems like this might be a good thing.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Objectively, it is really good that we don't have a cartel leader leading a country. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing that he's not there anymore. Historically, the United States does not have a great track record when we depose a leader and the fallout that happens. It doesn't stay good for very long. So it's going to be, I'm a libertarian. So my interventions when it comes to depriving someone of their liberties or, kicking a president out of a country, it's got to be an element of last resort where there was imminent danger, an imminent threat, and we had to use something, not a law enforcement exercise where we use our planes and our, the lives of our soldiers to do something like that. So I feel extremely uncomfortable. While at the same time, I'm glad he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But because of our track record, I'm like, the argument, the people that say, why him? There are 20 other terrorist regimes around the country. What made that one the one that you hit now? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so go ahead.
People are saying oil.
Well, they're saying it's oil.
Yeah.
But so the strategy of saying you only did it for the oil, right? Yeah. You accuse that of George W. Bush and he's like, no, this is about terrorism. Trump says this is about the oil. So saying it's about the oil is exactly what he says it's for.
Yeah. So I've been seeing some information say, like, I saw one reel online. It was I don't know, I guess she was a reporter. She's like, quit calling him a president, the guy that we took.
Yes, he was not a president.
He was not a president. People didn't want him there. He took the position by force. Is that all legit?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was a dictator.
He was a dictator. He eliminated people. That election was not legitimate. So he just basically imposed his will on the Venezuelan people. Right. Okay. So when you look at it, it's a microcosm or macrocosm, right? Like what does this play in the whole geopolitical scheme? Is it a net good for us to take a guy who was doing drugs and pushing drugs out into the Caribbean, that was a dictator who ruled by force and wasn't elected, that we had a $50 million bounty on his head, that took American interests in the oil refineries and took them over, stole our oil refineries in the country. So on the macro level, you have a country that's problematic. You already have an indictment and a wanted poster with his mug on it. They stole our shit and we want it back. And energy is your primary part of your policy, right? It makes sense to go after Maduro if you look at it from that landscape.
Yeah, if you're also sort of, I don't know, against harming people that are running drugs, would you not want to stop the person that makes them run drugs?
Right. But again, our history is that, so conquest has been part of not the American story, like humanity's story. And at some point we got where we didn't really want to do overt conquest anymore. Like the Spaniards and the Europeans, when they went out, they're like, we can increase our economy and our prosperity if we go into these areas that are, being managed by dimwits who don't have the IQ of a potato, and we just take over their shit and we use those resources and we make it a territory where we can run it effectively. Well, I'm pro conquest. If we're going to do it, just freaking do it up, right? Because there are some people that are causing problems in the world that really have no business running a country. They don't have the might to do it. They're a parasite on every country that they touch. They're making things increasingly worse. They're great candidates for conquest. Just put a deliberate conquest plan together and say, here's our 10 most poor, mismanaged, tyrannical, terroristic nations. And then we all get together and just obliterate them and make them into territories of well-run countries.
Well, yeah, because I feel like, does it feel to you like the people that are saying, oh, Trump is overstepping and this isn't something we should be involved with, are they not the same people that just how many months ago were screaming about United States needs to help Ukraine and all these other countries, and why aren't we giving more money to help other countries? They need it. We should be involved. But now you don't want us involved.
They have the normies out there, they have this, what I've seen in movies, kind of experience with what the rest of the world is like and what geopolitics really is like. It's a messy effing game because we basically project how things are here and we pretend that Venezuela was run similar to what it is here. Yeah. And it's nothing like it. It is a farce. It's an illusion. And, you wouldn't even, let's just say there was no news cycle whatsoever. The United States went in there, kicked them out, took over the country. At what point would you notice?
If there was no news cycle?
Yeah, who would have noticed, and what would you have noticed if you didn't hear anything about it?
You probably have to know somebody that is either in the country or connected to the country, and maybe that news would start trickling.
Not even that. They would be too busy celebrating to say even what just happened. So here are the people that are going to notice this. So you're in Miami. You're having a girls' weekend down there.
Yeah.
And you're like, you go to your cocaine plug. And it's like, I need to get some cocaine. And they're like, we're freaking out. And when we get it in, it's like $1,000 more than what you're used to, putting up your nose.
Oh, man.
And you're like, what the frick happened?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Venezuela, the Canadian conduit for transportation of cocaine, it got taken over. And there's no more, free ride of cocaine over to the Caribbean and to Miami. And you're like, well, damn that. My life is now changed and it's different. Yeah. The other thing. So you get Canada, who is this dipshit up north. Like, I used to love Canada and I used to love the Canadian people. Well, when they started flopping their tiny micro penises out on the desk, it really started irritating me.
So colorful.
And the energy, they thought we were, their crude up that way was like we were addicted to it, and they knew that they had us over the barrel for it. But you get another source of the same type of oil that comes out of Venezuela, which we have refining capacity for, and then we bring it from South America rather than from Canada. You're going to notice when your fuel prices are like, hey, why is the barrel of oil so low? Oh, here's why. Because we've got new capacity down here that we don't have these douchebag Canadians, kind of holding us hostage for energy anymore. So those are the two people who are going to notice right out of the gate. Oil speculators, okay, they like to keep oil prices at a certain level. I think it's around $70 a barrel. And that's when there's enough money involved in prospecting oil and the production and distribution of oil that it's worth doing. Right? Do you remember, like, around here we had the gas drilling with shale and all that was going on in Northeast Ohio? Remember that?
Is that like the fracking thing?
With the fracking, with the horizontal drilling, with all of that. When that
I remember
happening.
Hearing about it. Yeah.
Gas companies came to this area. They bought up a ton of leases. right? The price of gas dropped. And so would they rather pump out of the ground when it's at a low, or would they rather cap it off, wait till prices come in so it's actually worthwhile to pull it out of the ground? That's sort of like what's happening when the barrel of oil drops. Production actually slows because it's not worth even pulling out of the ground at such low prices. But then you have more dance partners come where you can get Canadian oil, you can get Venezuelan oil, you can have domestic drilling, and then you're going to find your sweet spot where maybe at $50 is going to be the new norm. Maybe at $2 a gallon buying gas is going to be your new norm. And then once that rolls out into your economy and things start costing less because transportation costs then come down, like that's going to be a net good if we find that home. The problem is, here's the big problem. There are a lot of shithole countries out there, right?
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of money. They're mismanaged. They don't have great presidents and councils and people running those states, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the drugs and the oil is where they're at, and they make a ton of money. So threatening that means that they got to add chaos into the world to get that oil price up. They need to have, an oil tanker get blown up, or a nuclear warhead threatens to get sent out into the South China Sea, or something like that. And then when people panic, right?
Yeah.
Then you boost that oil price back up again. And so the world doesn't work where we don't have pressures to make that stuff not capable of happening. And so we're, I'm critical in knowing that, counting down to our doomsday clock of how things are going to go crisis and chaotic, and we're done.
Oh yeah.
And this might be a domino that starts that catalyst that starts all that thing from happening. Like, can you imagine? So we do the Venezuela thing and it quiets down and everything's hunky dory. Most unlikely scenario. We do the Venezuela thing and then Colombia pops up and Palestinian stuff pops up and North Korea stuff pops up and China and all these other connected countries. They all start misbehaving. Now, guess what the United States has to do? Send military in every direction to quell the chaos. That is the most likely scenario. Don't be surprised if North Korea threatens, they're 2 weeks away from a warhead or something like that.
Just to manipulate the oil.
So if you look at who's visited Venezuela lately, it's been Russia and China, right? What interest do they have in Venezuela?
Oil?
Energy. And now that they don't have a friendly Maduro that's sitting in that office, right? And Russia needs the cash. China doesn't so much need it, except for their industry and population just consume a ton of it. But I don't think it was just about energy, though. I think if all of our enemies get together and sit at a table and they all conspire against the United States, right, then there is way more to the story than what the news tells us.
Well, the level of manipulation is insane.
Yes.
Through the whole world, our country, the whole world, how everyone is manipulated.
Yes.
And when you say things like even than what the news tells us, like that's all manipulation. Yeah. It's funny when you say if all our enemies sit at a table, I picture like Dr. Evil and Austin Powers.
It's probably just like that.
Oh,
it's
God.
Probably just like that, where they can't come at us directly because we will mop the floor with them. We just have more ability and more might than even you and I know about. But covertly, can they take stabs at us? Can they hurt us? Can they, wage a war that's sort of on the DL? That's what they're doing. They know that's the only method. And it's almost like conquest, right? So you have conquest and anti-conquest. So you have the option of not going after these shithole countries, dominating them and making them one of your territories so they at least have a chance at it, right? Mm-hmm. When you don't do that, you get anti-conquest, where you get parasitic nations that basically do the same thing that conquest would do. They're using your economy and your prosperity to survive. So you get the negative side of that, all the bad sides. So it's almost like you're putting this thing. If you do, right, that people are like, oh, you're just a colonialist. You're just taking over these countries. That's bad. And if you don't do it, these people are just taking advantage of you anyway and taking your shit, killing people and being murderous thugs around the world. That's also very bad.
It's like, oh, look at this injustice and these people that are being harmed. We should step in and help. And then if you do, now you have this whole effect of the other bad guys that were in cahoots with them. Now they're coming after us. And everyone's like, whoa, you just pissed off the rest of these countries. And now they're going to come after us. So what do you want me to do?
Yeah, you remember Dick Cheney, Middle East? They'll be celebrating in parades in the streets and will be adorned as their, what's they call their whatever. Why didn't that happen? Why was that such a shock that once they got rid of this deposed leader, that they'd all of a sudden say, hey, we're going to get democracy. We're going to do it. Here's the one thing that is your telltale. If the citizens of a country, like they're doing in Iran right now, if they revolt and they don't want a despot leader and they're willing to fight for it, and you see them militiaing and they just need a little boost. But if the people aren't doing it already, then they don't want it bad enough to make sacrifices, because I would be afraid, just the way our Middle East policy has been, the minute that you side with the Americans come along and pull the rug out. And now the new despot says, oh, by the way, we saw you supporting the Americans when you're here. You and your family are just dead. That's just what happens. So I would be completely shy unless I had everybody rallied up to even say that I support what the Americans are doing. And I'm super happy that, whatever's not in the presidential seat anymore.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of held captive. They can always be like, yay, come help us. But we're still hostages and we're not really going to be able to move.
Because they will, because human nature, they will elect the next despot, right? Because that's all they know. And they didn't like that guy, but this next dictator is going to be super good. They're not bought into Western culture. They're not bought into having the rule of democracy and the messiness of that. You can't even sell that. They're like, hey, look at us. We're awesome over here. They'd be like, you guys are a cluster. You're run by pedophiles and, and corrupt everything. We don't want that. I mean, at least if we have this guy, he can do, he can wield certain power.
Like, we can take out their leader, their biggest problem, but the culture doesn't change.
100%.
They're still just going to allow the next one.
Yeah. And if your industry is completely tied into drug distribution from the cartels, and every judge, every police officer, the cartel is integrated in everything, you remove the main leader, right? What happens? They don't just say, oh, shit, no more drugs for us. Let me go legitimate. I'm going to start selling flowers.
Like, you remove the main terrorist from an ISIS group or some terrorist organization. Are they done?
Nope.
Nope. They just get a new leader in there.
So what would be required? It means that the United States would have to rule. They would have to have extreme law enforcement where they rooted out all the corrupt people. And that's assuming after a couple decades worth of cartel being in control that there are any legitimate people left in that country that wouldn't do the same thing that Maduro did.
Yeah.
That's why me as a libertarian, unless you can prove to me that you got all of that stuff figured out, don't remove the leader, because it's going to be a bigger cluster afterwards.
We don't have, or I guess they don't have, this like interim person coming in to be sort of the leader.
Well, they had a vice president that was installed by Maduro. So Maduro's vice president has taken sort of like the default position, but finding a moderate, understanding their politics enough to see who knows enough about Western culture to be involved in a government that's run legitimately.
What about the person? Didn't they say there was somebody who won legitimately but didn't get it because he took over?
She was the opposition party, and that's who the vice president is right now.
Oh.
And so, like I said, we're going to have some influence there. But
they have a setup of where the opposition becomes vice president?
Well, that person was installed. And when it comes to politics, if you want the opposition party to go along with what you're doing, you bring one of them in, but they're just a figurehead. They're just a puppet. And it's like one of those things where what Trump said in his press conference is that the people don't have confidence in her as a leader, which means that it was a figurehead position meant to bring, you're a dictator. what do you want to do? You want to curtail the opposition so they don't overthrow you. So you make them vice president, but their job is to sit in a chair and never ask questions, kind of thing. That's what I assumed. No confidence in her. She didn't have any power. But if we have, our people, our diplomats, our law enforcement aid and assist, once you put a doctrine together that they can follow over the next decade, it's still not fixed. It's going to be a cluster. The upside is that it's going to be paid for by oil and energy that they could sell hand over fist. So it's not going to cost us anything. My fear is you're putting American lives in danger for a bunch of people who are probably corrupted by the cartel for a couple decades. And that's a dangerous prospect. Cartel's no joke down that way.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of military guys saying, even when you look back on our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, like, oh, look at this major accomplishment we carried out, lost a lot of lives, sent a lot of people over there. We finally captured this whoever, and everything could change, and they go right back to the way they were.
It's exactly right. And it's because when you have political will shifting every 4 years, that means that just like those supporters of when they'll throw parades for us, they're afraid that in 4 years, another person's going to be in there and pull the rug out from underneath them. Think about our military, same thing. They go do really hard stuff, put their lives at risk. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, you conquered Afghanistan. Let's just give it back to them. And you're like, why the F did I do that?
Yeah.
Why did I take the risk?
Yeah.
So again, the political will, again, if a country's not like on the precipice of figuring out democracy already, and we're just there to do an urging, that's one thing. But I don't think Venezuela, I mean, they're happy that they don't have a tyrannical leader anymore, but I don't think they were on the verge of figuring it out for themselves.
Yeah. You think the happiness is pretty much going to be short-lived until they're right back to where they are, or could it stay better?
I'm saying good luck. I hope it's the first, but I fear that it's the worst.
Are we then do you think we'll start seeing the benefits of this oil then? When Trump's like, I'm keeping it.
Yeah. I think Chevron and one other company who has refineries in the area, they were taken over by Maduro, and they're going to put money back into them, build them back up, fix them so that they can start producing. I think he said they were like at 10% capacity. We'll bring it up to 90% capacity.
Wow.
We'll use the spoils of that to pay back the military costs for, deposing that dude. And then what happens after that is still kind of mysterious.
So what do we do with this guy now that we have him?
He's in New York. He's in prison. He and his wife.
They're just going to stay in prison for a while?
Well, he's going before a liberal judge. So he might walk.
Here's your plane ticket. Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah, I just wait until they're like, Maduro, he was a family man. He went to soccer practices.
Product of the system.
He went to soccer practice every Saturday, and he eats ice cream just like you and I. Send him back. Send him back.
We need his vote. In a year or so.
Anyway.
Wow.
So again, I don't have faith and trust in the system enough to know that we have the capability of doing it well on a long enough time scale. And that's where I'm more of an isolationist, where take care of the homeland first. We got enough problems here. Use that military might to clean up all of our problems. Keep everything at bay. Use the I mean, I like that it was a 1 hour military mission. We're in, we do the job, we're out, done. Even with Iran, overnight, bomb it, get out. You haven't heard shit from Iran for a little while, right? So obviously diminish some capacity to threaten one's neighbor when you get embarrassed as much as they did with that strike. So as long as it's short stints, like you're on the top part of my tolerances for how we intervene in things. And I'm looking at Colombia, next door neighbor, who is equally as terrible as Venezuela.
Yeah.
And if we have two of these going on, how many conquests can we get going at one time? Because let's do North Korea and Iran.
But do you think Trump, this administration, is sort of like, I feel like this is kind of becoming their MO, like get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, get out. Like we're not doing this long war thing. It's like, bam, bam.
But you think about how many vacuums you're creating.
Yeah.
And you're not in charge of many of the gravities, especially when citizens of the United States are like, they need to govern themselves. Well, what if they're dumb shitheads and governing themselves means making it worse than it was before, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to send them IQ points? I mean, it's a very shaky thing to do one, let alone 15 at one time.
Yeah. And yeah, there is, I don't think we've all maybe even really considered the weight of the entire country's culture itself could be the biggest deterrent in any progress.
Yep.
So yeah, it's like, what are the risks we're willing to take? Now, if this is going to sound a little selfish, if the people of whether it's Venezuela or whatever do resort back to the old ways and sort of allow themselves to kind of fall under that type of regime again, could the state still have benefited? Like, do we still get the benefit of the gas prices and the oil and whatever it is that we have? And, can we still make it a good decision for us, even if we tried to help and they just weren't able to be helped? Other than that, like, what else are you going to do?
Well, okay. In business, small scale, right? Let's go to an area in Chicago, big drug dealers, gang activity, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, we're going to solve this problem. We have 1,000 gang members here that they rob and they sell drugs and they kill and all of that. We're going to send law enforcement there and clean it up so that those things can't happen. Now you have 1,000 people that were doing those things before, and you shut it down, right? So it can't happen anymore. What do those people do? Do they have like a moment where they're like, I'm going to go legit and open up a store. I'm going to go work down at the factory.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have an answer for then the people that had the mind to do this stuff and they were doing it for a long period of time and that's all they know, if you don't have a plan for what to then do with those people so that they get on a path that, is more aligned with Western culture, then all you did was whack-a-mole. They go do other things, right?
That's their
in
lifestyle.
Other places, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, the metric was, do we have drug dealing happening? Nope, not more drug dealing. Do we have gang violence? Nope, gang violence has been quelled. Robberies are way down. Cool. And I'm going to say, what are those people doing now? You're like, where'd they go? I don't know. They disappeared.
They're planning their next
That's
venture.
It. They moved into a new arena.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's kind of like, I think MLO Bros, mentioned this last week or so, but I've been watching The Sopranos, and anytime the mob or this group of people, I know it's a show, but for an example, law enforcement quells something they're doing, do they just all go out and get legitimate jobs and make an honest living? No, this is their lifestyle. They have to upkeep the lifestyle. They find something else
That's
to
exactly
do.
Right.
They just get sneakier about it.
Right.
Maybe a little shadier or smarter about it.
Yeah. And that example is why, unless you have direct control in a country that's, a couple thousand miles away, if you can't do it in a city that is 2 blocks away, there's no way you're going to keep it under wraps in Venezuela or Cuba or or Colombia.
Especially too, when you're not just fighting the organization itself, but you've got all these other entities that are also prospering from any corruption there, and they're going to jump in and help. Yeah, God, it kind of feels like a losing battle.
Yeah. But it pushes things to a head, because when they were able to do this covertly, the money was good enough that they just kept doing it. So the only reason we're intervening is because, hundreds of thousands of people a year were dying from the drugs that were coming in, and we made that harder, right?
Yeah.
And now you have to get a little bit more overt with making the same amount of money. So, maybe some of our things that weren't happening because they were the least good option now becomes a better option. And now we have direct, powerful countries that can defend themselves get involved in it because of necessity now. And now things are made worse. But anyway, it's early on in this. I'm just sharing my fears and dissecting all of the ways that it could go terribly bad, and kind of give my rationale for thinking this is not a great thing.
Like maybe it won't. Like, maybe it'll be great.
Maybe
everything will work out. Maybe Venezuela will start to prosper and they're going to be so appreciative of America and they're going to be our biggest ally and we're going to get all this oil and everybody's going to be doing great.
Okay. I'm willing. I mean, again, I give that about a 15% chance of happening.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
A lot of tumblers have to fall just the right way for that to happen.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Emmanuel says that's like the drug dealer becoming the mailman.
The drug dealer becoming the
mailman. Is that
mailman.
like just inventing new ways to
distribute the drugs through the mail? I don't know. Give us more details on that analogy. But anyway. Yeah. So what else? We'll go more into this, but I want to ask you something because this was an interesting one.
Okay.
Did you see the bikini me on X?
The what?
Bikini me.
No.
Yeah, it's a trend that happened over the holidays.
Bikini me.
Bikini me.
Bikini me.
Bikini me. So what it is artificial intelligence and graphics image creation can take a picture and they can use a couple of comparison pictures about what the body looks like and different poses and whatever, and change your clothes out for a bikini. And
kind of like we're seeing all these girls putting themselves on other.
Yeah. And so, but anybody can do it. Not just the person can do it. You can do that to anybody. So there's a privacy conversation happening, whether or not it is assault to take someone who does not want to be pictured on the internet in their bikini, being forced to be pictured on the internet in a bikini. And they're like, hold up, how is this allowable?
Isn't the first lady doing something with this? Like, people, instead of a bikini, you can make someone like look nude. You can make someone look, like they're posing for Playboy or something.
During the bikini me, they were pushing on the limits of what this thing can do.
Yeah.
And that's what's most concerning is that you can take a person, flop them around from their backside, leaning over in compromising positions, slap a bikini that is made of cellophane, and it becomes a completely different deal.
I mean, yeah, you're putting someone's face on someone else's body and you make it look real.
Because it is using all you stuff, it is your body. If you took...
Oh, wait a minute. Yes. You're saying this isn't just like, here's an image of a female off the internet and here's your face. It's, I can somehow guess what your actual body looks like.
Yep. It's not that difficult. You give me a sampling of 10 pieces of clothing and I can see the contours of where things are placed under the clothing. Especially if you wear revealing clothing, I can get a really good idea.
Like, is it going to know all like your cellulite and your dimples and
depends what you've given away.
Spider veins and your
depends what you've given away, and so it can create the image of what you would look like if you were in a bikini. And women are pushing back against this because they feel like they've been violated, where they've been exposed in choices they didn't make.
Can they make you look better?
I don't know. I mean,
listen, like, I feel like a lot of us have taken vacations to the beach and you share pictures.
Right.
There are pictures of me on the internet in a bathing suit on the beach. Listen, if you can make that look better. Now, if you make it look worse, I'm going to be a little
I think it's just trying to go accurate. I think it's trying to make it so that it's an accurate depiction.
And why wowould somebody do this to someone else? Blackmail, I guess, or
no, just because you can do it.
Just online bullying.
Yeah, and they've done. I mean, it's a new capability, and so sex is where you go first on every new capability, every technological advances, because how we're freaking wired. But there, like I said, there was a lot of people who were unwilling that got depicted in a bikini in compromising positions, and I could see, I could see where. I'm not a big believer that, humility was part of what we post on social media.
Yeah.
So the fact that somebody posted their bikini and somebody else posts a bikini, it's not much different if you presented it yourself. But if someone's like, I've never posted a picture in any tight clothing or any bikinis or whatever, and I get put up there, that's a choice that goes completely against. I didn't want to do that. That's why I didn't do it. And now it's out there.
Yeah, I feel like there's a court case about this. There's like a young girl, this blonde girl went through some legal stuff because some people were posting images of her online that were not real, and they were affecting her and her job and things like that. Yeah, I feel like this has been around and fought back against, but The bikini, I guess, is just a more legal way to do it. Obviously, if it's pornographic images, you might get in some trouble. If it's a bikini, now they're like, it's like we said, reinvent. Oh, this got quelled. I'm still going to be shady and manipulative and do it, but it's a little more legal now. And
the concerning ones are you take a 15-year-old girl on social media and bikini up a 15-year-old girl. Now you have the pedophiles that are just going to go gangbuster with this, and it makes me uncomfortable. But the innovation of the technology says that there's going to be more of this, where if I like you, I'm going to capture your image and I'm going to make you into my virtual sex slave, regardless of because everything you present on the physical side, I can replicate inside of VR. And now your person, outside of not really being Kelin, but even you talk so much publicly, I can make a Kelin virtually. My
kids came home one day and I was not surprised, but I guess it is a little concerning. My kids were like, Mom, we were Googling at school. We Googled you and you're on the internet. And I said, well, yeah, you can Google anybody. Like Google yourselves, Google whatever. Everyone's on the internet. But the amount of things, I was like, oh my God, you could get my likeness like that.
Yep. You could be replicated. Manuel says if government stepped in, deterred the crime and the drug dealers off the street, why would they want to get a job? Drugs in this country alone is a multi-billion-dollar industry. If it's not in the streets, it would be incorporated somewhere else. Thus, the saying, the drug dealer becoming the mailman. Absolutely right. Because it's an accepted industry in our culture where we tolerate a great deal of it. We're not prudes and we allow some lawlessness and we're okay with it as long as we get our cocaine when the girls are partying in Miami, right?
As long as I get that.
But if law enforcement tries to make that as difficult as they possibly can, so that it's almost like keeping a lock on your door, right? It keeps honest people honest, kind of thing. You can get away with it, right? But it keeps, because how hard is it to kick in a door?
I mean, kind of door.
Okay, it's quite easy. If you want to get in someplace, you're going to get in there. The lock is to keep someone coming up and saying, I don't really want to do this. There's a lock on there. I'm out. It keeps a certain small percentage of people not doing the thing because the deterrent was just enough to get them not to do it. But if I'm like, I'm getting in a house, I don't care if you have a tank in your kitchen, right? I'm getting in a house. Now locks do nothing for that group.
Yeah.
But again, we're doomed because lawlessness is part of our culture now, depending on your political stripes, what you're willing to tolerate for people breaking the rules. So if you're like, hey, we have an immigration policy, and then I'm like, okay, I have two choices. That's the law, and I'm going to follow it, or I'm the president, so I'm going to allow that thing to happen. Which one do we choose, law or lawlessness? And we choose lawlessness a lot of the time.
And you know what, again, is so frustrating, and we've talked about this before, but speaking of these two topics, oh my, that's not allowed anymore. Oh. After January 1st, that's done. I don't know why that is done, but that's what I've heard. It's done.
Okay, go ahead.
I hate you. The idea of the news, and we talked about manipulation and what's going on in other countries and how we're going to find out information and if it's real or not, and this new AI technology that's coming, we're still not going to know what's real. Mm-hmm. Like, have you ever seen those videos where they report an entire news story, reporter, background people, everything looks legit, and then they say this isn't real, none of this is real, the reporter wasn't real?
Yep.
And like if you really zoom in, you see like words on clothing doesn't actually say anything, it's actually blurred out, but it all looks totally legit. So it's almost like when you say, if there were no news coverage, how would we find things out? We're going to be right back to that.
We are.
We have news coverage, and I still don't know what is actually going on.
And there's so much information that most of us have just a superficial understanding. Everything you heard response from Maduro was all superficial. People unwilling to dig into the details and be objective enough to know what's really going on. It's just like, I don't have time to read this, so I'm going to pick someone and I'm going to adopt how they feel about it. And then you have this superficial, complete understanding of the world. Well, I would give it probably a 90-10 split. 10% of the people of this country know what's going on and that could actually have a good, conversation about it. 90% have just parroted or adopted something somebody else understood about something. And you said if you look at the the AI generation, if you really dug in, you could tell. But again, 90% of the people are superficial. They're going to hear something that they wanted to hear. They're going to adopt it as truth. And by that time, it's spoiled. It's gone wrong. You're not going to uneducate people about what they think or know or feel.
Yeah, the video I saw that was completely AI was shared multiple times as though it was real. Mm-hmm. People were believing this happened and then went back and saw, oh my gosh, this is AI. This video is about how realistic AI can look. So not only are we not privy to actually look into anything and investigate it, but the AI itself looks more and more realistic.
Yep.
So you have to do even more research to find out, is that even real or not? Nothing's going to be real. You know what is like, it's been so freaky lately. When you think of things like that, fake videos online, deep fakes, AI looking, sounding like people, how now you could even like take their image and guesstimate what they look like. You don't even have to put them on a fake body. You can get their own image almost exact. The technology is so insane. And then I hear things. I just was listening to the radio the other day, and their tagline, they said like the call letters of the radio station, and said something like, "We're human," or something like that, where it's always a real person. Like that's their advertising. That's their tag now, that's their marketing is, hey, we're actually real human beings. And I'm like, this is the age we are in the future. We are in the future that we have to now in everyday media state whether or not you're human or not. Mm-hmm. Oh, these are humans. These are not.
Okay, so if you go back 5 years when we had the onset of AI, Joe Danyi just basically painted this entire picture for you.
Yeah.
And I said, don't do it. Keep this genie in a bottle. If you release it, you're done, right?
Uh-huh.
And now everybody was like, well, he said that, but how do I do that? I'm not in control of everything. How do I freaking do that? Even the guy that was creating it was like, this is a dangerous deal. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. It was like, well, we're going to do it anyway. Okay. And then, so do you get 10 years in the future where you have no, North Star of information and then say, wow, this is a bad idea? Because all I'm going to have to say is get in your time machine, go back 10 years. Don't do it. Don't consume it. Don't support it. Don't invest in it. Let it die, right? Let it be used in places that it's appropriate, but don't have culture. If your culture is really good, then it would magnify. It'd be a tool that the world would even be made a better place. If your culture sucks ass and you're all terrible people, you're going to magnify terribleness. And AI gives a magnitude greater than the terribleness of humans and makes it even more than it naturally is. So it's just a reflection of who we are.
Yeah.
100%.
And I watched like this teeny tiny bit much of the Critics' Choice Awards were on last night. And at one point during it, they were talking about the AI actress and they were sort of bashing it, made a joke about it. And you could tell like they don't like the idea of an AI actress, obviously, because it threatens the industry. Yep. Yeah. And so I've been even to like, I'm not going to watch anything with an AI actress, and I'm not going to listen to a record that's all AI generated. But I mean, we'll see how that goes. But I think it's going to take the pushback from a lot of people.
But we're beyond that already. Emmanuel says it's becoming harder to tell if things are real or fake with AI. You really have to look at every detail to see the truth. People are either blind listeners or visual observers. If you're a blind listener, you're doomed to fail for the AI trap. This stuff is going to be really separate. It's going to really separate a nation. And with most people's on the go and constantly moving, we're more prone to listening than viewing. So let's just say, it's unpopular to have AI actors and actresses in movies. So a production house puts together a movie and they just put AI actors and actresses, and they just don't tell you they're AI actresses. Yeah. So you can get 50 movies deep into something and you really like the movies and they did really well at the box office. And they're like, oh, by the way, guys, these were not real people to begin with. How many people actually care? Like, I don't know. It was a good movie. And if your if you lowered my ticket price for going to see the movie because you'd have to pay an actor $1 million and you got the CGI and explosion, so you don't have to blow up an actual building. And if I couldn't tell that you were doing that, then it doesn't effing matter.
It does matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
I am giving you the prediction that in the short term, right? So if I told you, hey, if you order from this consolidated retailer, then a lot of the businesses that you really like around town are going to go out of business. You're like, I can't do that. Support small business. Fast forward, and it matters less and less because it became too good, too convenient. And now when they're all gone, they're like, how do those small businesses, why did they go? They can't get any customers, dude, because you're buying everything on Prime, right?
Yeah.
So in principle, we say the words, but our actions don't match it. So we might say, I really hated that movie, but you went and saw a bunch of them because it was cheaper and it was better action and it was everything you loved in a movie.
And at one point, I think you sort of get to this point too where it's like, well, I can't beat them, join them.
That's right.
Like, I have always been a proponent of shop local. Go out in your local community, find something you're looking for, spend the money here, keep your community thriving. And when Amazon started really blowing up and everybody was ordering online, I'm like, guys, come on. You could have gotten that from the store. You could have gotten that from the store. Like, not everything has to be found online. Now, when I go out in our area, and I saw this around the holidays, when I attempt to shop here, it's awful. It's awful. I don't know if you've been to the Southern Park Mall yet. That place is done. Unless there is a major intervention somehow, they are done. There is not shit in that place. Anywhere I go, I can't find what I need. And what do I have to do? I have to go online.
Consumers did that.
Yeah.
Consumers did it. So you have two burger joints, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have Bob's Burger Joint and Joe's Burger Joint. All right. They're both like, they're paying employees and they have chefs, servers, the whole deal.
Yeah.
And then Bob decides he's going to go get the Fry Cooker 2000, right? Now, his labor costs just immediately go down. He automates more of his systems or puts kiosks out in the front. I have Bob who's making bank, right? He's doing really well because he cut all of his expenses. So it made his efficiency for revenue super high. Now, Joe's Burger Joint is looking at that and saying, no, we freaking hire real people. Come to Joe's. We're not as good. We're not as cheap. We're not as fast. But come here, please. Support your neighbor. When it comes down to it, and you want to make like a once a month token gesture, you're going to go to Joe's and post on social media, I'm supporting labor. But when times are tough or you need something quick and it really matters, which is 99% of the time, you're going to Bob's, and Bob figured it out. So now Joe has to consider either I'm going to go out of business because I can't compete with that, or I'm just going to do that. So that is the natural progression. Once one person does it and it shows that it's better and it works, right? Mm-hmm. You either take your time machine, go back and say, hey, this AI can do it faster, better than anything. It's going to compete against, having an employee that has all of the disciplines of academics, knows freaking everything, can do things instantaneously, is always going to be better than a human being. Your preference for a human being is this deep, right? There are lots of things that you're going to choose not to. So the Southern Park Mall falls because people don't go to the mall anymore. Why? Because the competing, product was you sit in your living room, you tap on buy now, it shows up 2 days later, and you're like, I didn't have to go to the mall and deal with 1,000 people that were vying for the same products that I was.
Yeah. Or pushy salespeople. There's been stores I wouldn't go into because I wanted to be left alone and they were too pushy.
And that's what you got. It really is serving a better than the bad side average, right? You are getting a net benefit from AI, and these are all of the costs that are 100% going to happen. 100%. It's, again, the time to decide this was not now. It was 5-10 years ago, and we didn't. So this is just what it's going to be.
What do you think's going to happen too with things like landfills and garbage and waste? I didn't watch the documentary, but I saw an advertisement for a documentary about, with all of this online ordering, shipping, things of that nature, the waste is now becoming almost like uncontrollable. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to be filling. You have more bags and boxes and packaging and return debris and all that stuff. And, items that can so easily be returned, but then they just kind of get tossed out. And are we going to be like an idiocracy where it's just like mountains of garbage and shit everywhere?
I don't think it'll be here. I think, again, because we have so many parasitic nations. So let's just say you take a country in Africa and you're like, hey, we'll give you $1 billion just to fill your landfills up and we'll ship it to you every month. The major industry then of the Congo is taking our refuse. And there's enough space, right, that we can put all of this stuff. We just happen to be, we do lithium mines in Asia, right? Because they have less regulations on environmental stuff, right? And so where we won't do it ourselves, we proxy it out to another country. And as the world gets smaller, where we have better ability to drone cargo ship things around, around the world, then we just outsource it.
Hey, maybe instead of drugs, it's your big business is going to be working with the United States because they have a huge source of waste. And we're going to get into waste management with the United States and just store all their garbage.
Yeah, could happen.
I don't know how I feel about that. That's so.
You do two things. You can either stop complaining about it and just accept it that the marketplace will solve that problem. Or you could be like, I'm not buying anything more and I'm not going to be a contributor. And I hope a lot of people join me in doing that. And then we've solved the problem by not buying into it. Boycotting that. Yeah, won't work.
No.
So it's the other option where we'll figure out a way, even if it means shipping our stuff to the Congo.
Emmanuel says Southern Park Mall is
less than Mega Buc-ee's.
Mega Buc-ee's.
Mm-hmm.
Buc-ee's like the gas station? What's a Mega Buc-ee's like?
It's probably very big, and Buc-ee's is awesome. They sell freaking everything. And so when you're comparing a Mega Buc-ee's to Southern Park Mall,
I was like, that's not even a comparison.
No.
Yeah. It's a shame. We were talking to our kids about what the mall used to be like, and it would be nice to have something like that back and thriving again. You think it's just done forever?
Totally done forever. Just ask the regular consumer and what they don't even ask them. Just observe the regular consumer and see how much they like dealing with the obstacles of going places in person and parking and, going out of the elements and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then the restaurants don't do as well because you have less people traveling out and about. I remember Southern Park Mall when I started doing business, it was the most premium square footage that I've ever run into, right? There was waiting lists of people that wanted to spend $40 or $45. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit per square foot to operate in the mall. Why? Because when you got a retail shop in the mall, you had thousands of passerbyers that would see your brand, and it had this infinite cycle of people that you can get brand exposure to.
Yeah.
Right? When there's 50 people in the mall and they're just a walk with their Silver Sneakers Club, they're not coming in to be buyers.
That's all that was there.
So we watched the premiums drop, right, down to $15. And they're even giving away places at the mall just to have activity there.
Yeah. I mean, it was like big stores like Macy's and Dillard's and what used to be Kaufman's and all that. Like, it was packed in there. It was just racks and racks and racks that you're kind of all through. You walk in now to Macy's and it's just like everything is very spread out. It's just a couple of things over there and a couple of things over there. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like it almost looks like a store that's like going through a remodel or closing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Everything in there looks closing.
They're just enough of the older generation that still has a preference. You get out of this generation, they start dying off. Everybody that grew up in the Amazon generation will put the death strike into retail.
Yep. I mean, I remember every Christmas Eve we go to my aunt's house, my little elderly aunt. She gets gifts for everyone. And you used to see she would buy mass gifts for everyone. And they would all have these like Dillard's or, whatever store it was from. And last several years, everything was online. Everything's online. Everything we get is online. Mm-hmm. And now I can't even blame people. Because you can't get it here. You really can't.
5 years ago, you could.
Oh, those were the days. The 90s, early 2000s. Emmanuel says the Eastwood Mall is definitely thriving over the Southern Park Mall. If the Southern Park Mall was close to its doors, were to close its doors, what would be very beneficial would be an Amazon distribution center. Going off of what you guys are saying with shopping online and not having to go to the mall, someday shipping would be a viable option for clothes, electronics, etc.
Yeah. So let's just say they somehow got every place filled in the mall. So they had all kinds of different vendors. And they put in one of the store where it was the shipping store. And all they would do is they have a little cart and you go through the catalog of all the vendors there. They list their inventory. And then they would have their own mini Amazon where they can ship mall goods out to the public to compete directly with Amazon. Do you think people would take them up on it?
So you're basically doing what you can do on Amazon, but you have to go in person to do it?
No, you go on your little Southern Park Mall app and the catalog is all things that are sold in that mall. You place your order. Collector shipping guy goes to all the stores to pick whatever,
just like Amazon,
and then
but
brings it out to your house, and then you shopped via the shipper person.
It depends on what they had to offer. Consider it.
Okay. Well, the first part that won't happen because Amazon lost money for 10 years trying to pull this off at small scale. The only reason they got by it is they got a tipping point at large enough scale where the Prime memberships paid for a lot of that distribution. You can't do it small scale and make money. Or it would be like you'd have to pay like Uber Eats rates where it's a $15 shipping fee. And with us, at $2.99 to ship something, we're not even used to what real shipping costs even are.
You know how many times too I've seen we bought something off of Amazon and went to return it and they don't even want it back.
Yep.
They're like, we'll refund you, just keep it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Even they were like, we literally just gave you something. We're just giving stuff away now. We don't even need it back. And
that's a spreadsheet decision because the processing cost exceeds what you just bought, and it would cost them more to take it back than
we always laugh and say, they know how shitty this was. They even know this was a piece of crap. They're not going to sell it again. Just keep it. We'll refund your money.
All right. What else?
I'm
going to do one more Venezuela segment because this is a hope of mine because Joe the conspiracy theorist, these little disruptions in status quo might mean that you have a new incentive to be able to share information that we didn't have before. So it's some people believe it, maybe not me, but that Venezuela was involved in the whole Dominion election fraud deal. And there was payments that were alleged made to congressmen. There was a whole list that was published about Venezuelan who were dabbling in the American election, using Dominion as that catalyst to be able to get Biden elected during that one deal. And so that's number one. I don't know if it's going to be fruitful, if it's even real or whatever. But now you've got Maduro sitting in a New York jail that can be interrogated and has now an incentive to give up the names of the people that he used within the American government to do the drugs, the guns, and whatever else they had going on there. So that's one hope, is that maybe we get access to that new information and you have some people. This Justice Department, Pam Bondi, the whole rest, they are worthless. They are useless and worthless. How many legislators have gone to prison, have been indicted, and have served any kind of justice being an internal? Zero. Freaking zero. I'm talking election fraud. I'm talking outright fraud that Doge found. I'm talking the Epstein list. They don't know how to put people in prison. They don't. They just don't. They're protecting them.
Do you think this guy's going to get killed in prison? Unalived before we can interrogate him?
I'm not saying anything.
Right? Who would be surprised? Raise your hand if you would be surprised if this guy suddenly ends up unalived.
Mm-hmm. It's possible.
Who looks guilty if that happens?
I don't know. The deep state. Like, it's going to be the deep state. We don't know who they are. They're always protected. We never get to know their names. They can just operate with impunity anywhere they go. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's part. And I don't know, like, you heard about the leaks. The Trump administration didn't go to Congress before they did this Venezuela strike because they knew that they would leak, right? So the only people who knew were cabinet people only.
Yeah.
2 news outlets said they got the story ahead of time and they chose not to run it so that it would be successful. And I'm thinking, hold up.
Wait a minute.
You can't blame Congress. Who the F in that inner circle told the media, and why did they do it? Were they hoping to undermine? Does he have a mole within his administration that was hoping to undermine this Venezuela? Yeah. I want to know who those effing people were.
That speaks so many different things. Like, number one, who leaked it? Number two, so you're telling me the media is able to quell stories or run stories based off of what's going to happen, and can they be effective? Like, oh, I want this to happen. Mum's the word. We don't want this to happen. We're blowing the story up. You know, like, that feels like it's in and of itself is maybe holding a little more power than they should. Number one. But yeah, like, and I'm assuming whoever these news organizations claiming this will never tell us who leaked it.
No, they will never. That's just part of the tight-knit group of revealing sources.
Yeah, they're all in cahoots. Everybody is captured. Everybody. The media is owned. The representatives are owned. Everybody is owned. Everybody is playing their own game. And the American people are, we are the Venezuelans. We are what are we going to do about it? Nothing. Y'all go do your own thing, and you can rule us, and you take our tax money, and you do whatever the hell you want. We go about our day and bend over and just take it.
Who said this from the beginning? Do you know any guy usually sits across from you and does
I feel like I've heard it before.
That
sounds familiar. Julie, good morning, Julie. Happy New Year. Julie says, didn't Dominion get a large settlement against Fox for claiming fraud? I don't know. Did Dominion get a large...
hit probably 4 different people for claiming that there were... and I'm wondering if after the investigation, they find out that Dominion was a conduit for fraud, where they had ability to change votes, to scrap data that was collected on those, that it was a controlled apparatus, right? Then do those people who got those awards have to give the money back because they were right? Because, forgive me, but I don't trust when somebody comes to the conclusion that there was no fraud, right? We just don't. It's important that if you out certain information, that it makes things worse. So, for instance, if the Epstein list comes out and you have, 500 of your legislators that immediately go to jail, that makes your legislature worse. Justice is served, but it makes things worse. So you can make the argument that we didn't give it out because it would destroy the United States government. People like me would say, well, then it deserves to be destroyed. But then regular people are like, can we find another way that doesn't destroy all of our livelihoods and destroy our economy and make us open to, bombing from our enemies? Similar to this. If nobody then trusts election integrity and they give up, then they don't vote, and they don't have faith that when they vote, it even matters if Dominion can just pull levers, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can see why someone would make the argument, even though there was fraud, we can't let the people know that, because then they won't believe that it's on the up and up, and then nobody will have a legal or whatever election anytime in the future.
I just keep getting manipulated.
That's exactly right. So you can see where that spreadsheet determines how the deep state or they are doing it for halfway reasonable reasons, right? They're halfway reasonable justifications for it. But if it comes to like, are things true and honest in the United States? The answer is no. It is an illusion that is keeping this dumpster fire just not destructive enough, right? But also very dirty still.
Who are the news organizations that claim they knew about this?
I think one was AP and one was, I'm going to look.
I'm assuming they are conservative if they wanted this to happen, because all the liberals cried about it happening. Did they not?
I'll have to look it up later.
Oh, what was that? Go back. Secret details. Go down. Secret details of Venezuela raid leaked before dramatic. Major legacy media outlets learned about
New York
the
Times and Washington Post found out that the parade soon before it was scheduled to begin.
How long before they don't know?
But again, they're keeping this stuff together with bubblegum, and the world's happening very quickly, and a lot of status quos are being broken. So it's just a matter of time before it capsizes. Unless, for some engineering feat, they can keep it all together, and then the American people stop paying attention to it, and then we move on to the next distraction that's presented to us. There's a lot of countries to invade. We can be distracted a whole lot. They could probably buy another 10 years of us saying, wasn't there an Epstein list or something going to be found? Wasn't that important to us that we find out that there are pedophiles running the American government? Is that still a problem?
Yeah. Do you think the government and the people running it know? Listen, American people are going to bitch and moan and whine for a while, and then they'll get over it. We're going to hear about this Epstein for a while, and then they'll get over it. We're going to hear about Venezuela for a while, and then they'll get over it. Like, because that's how it works.
Now, what if the Epstein list was a predicate to another anti-terrorist or anti-Venezuela or energy policy, and the way they got all of their information was because they had an Epstein-type island, and they pulled off clandestine operations to be able to find out about our enemies, right? Then you as a legislator can say, I'm going to tolerate this one because, kids were assaulted on this place, and that's a really bad thing. But we got Maduro, right?
Yeah.
We got him because of the information we gathered from that. Now you're in really slimy waters, really slimy.
Yeah, when they're like, hey, how big of a problem is this if it can help us solve this?
Right. All right. Next topic is NGOs. Helping country. And so an NGO, for those of you who don't listen often, we talk about them all the time. They're basically end arounds of the law, right? Government is restrained from doing certain things. So these proxies are formulated so that you can pass money from the government to the proxy, and the proxy then does the thing that the government's not allowed to do, right? And they get a little bit of a scrape off of the money, and they send it back to the Democrats and Republicans to help their campaigns and make them nice and prosperous, just fat and happy, right?
Fat and sassy.
Rubio said that NGOs are done. We're no longer passing this money. If we're going to help a country, we're going to do direct payments. NGOs be damned. Go away, right? Big move, right? I love hearing those words. Will it happen? Probably not.
Sure. Whatever you say. Mm-hmm. No NGOs. They're done. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of faith in that.
I don't have faith in anything anymore.
I know. I
used to be an optimistic, hopeful person.
Yep. And now you know how the sausage is made, and you're like, damn. I think the analogy I used the first time that we had this conversation was, like you go to a restaurant all the time and you really love the ambiance, the food and whatever, and you work there for a week and you see how things are really done and you don't feel the same way about the restaurant. Think about it in terms of when you see the machinery, you're like, oh shit, I can't believe I had faith in this. And I got to protect the illusion of the front part of the restaurant and hide the back part.
Oh God. Is there anything in this world and life that's just good?
No, we
has integrity.
No, we decided to bail on the whole integrity and good. And now we're just a competitive play against other slimy people. So
everything's a game. Everything's a manipulation. Mm-hmm. What's just good?
Sorry. Good, set, sail. All right. Minnesota. Tim Walz. We're watching this go down and see whether or not Tim Walz is able to survive the fraud of Somalians and Somalian daycare and healthcare, in-home healthcare providers.
Yeah.
It's deep. Like, it is deep. Nick Shirley was not the last person to do one of these. They kept more YouTubers said that they want to get some notoriety too, so they kept hitting those same buildings and exposing even more.
Yeah.
So it is now you can't put a cap on this bottle. It's out there. And which means here's what Joe's going to tell you the truth. In every state, in every city, this is happening. I've been telling you. What?
I'm shocked.
You're shocked.
I'm not really shocked.
No, she's not shocked at all. But we saw it happening when, in the business community, we see our competitors getting this access to money that we're not getting. And then we see what it's required to go get that money. And we're like, I couldn't get it even if I wanted to. It's for a very small subsect of people where you can just filter money right to the people that you want to have the money. So instead of saying, here's a benefit to a welfare program, I'm just going to say, fill out this paperwork, pretend you have this thing, we're going to give you a bunch of money, and it's the same thing. We just use the mechanisms of DEI government to get you money. So, and we're picking on Somalians a little bit more. It's every ethnic group. If you got women, minorities, Somalians, Mexicans, whatever, every group that got a special pass from law is benefiting from these programs, if you want to call it that. And again, it's not going to dry up. There's too much money in it. And you suck that money out, and then half the businesses disappear. They were not real.
How do you feel about, now I saw this on some YouTube news thing, so I don't even know if it's true, but if it is, how do you feel about HHS halting all money towards them?
They do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so funny. I don't know what the news organization was, but they made it pretty clear they were far left when they broke this headline, HHS halting all money to the state because of this fraud investigation. And now kids who really need money and are living off of this are not going to get it. And this isn't the first time Kennedy has used something like this as a political ploy or something like that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. We don't keep fraud because innocent people are entangled in that fraud. You just don't do it. They
were insinuating that he was going to just use this to justify taking money away from kids who need it. It's not at all, by the way, tons of fraud, millions of dollars fraudulently going to something that is totally fake and harming this. No. It's none of that. It's just an asshole. Look at HHS just using this to go ahead and justify them wanting to take money away from kids. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, those are the normies I was talking about with a superficial understanding of what was happening. Because logically, you can say if you have a trough of money and you have 1,000 people trying to figure out how to get access to that trough, then you have two choices. Either be really solid on managing who goes to the trough or don't have a trough. You only really have two options. And at this point, it's so corrupt and there are so many people that are benefiting, as illustrated by Nick Shirley, that you can't have a trough. And the next time we do give you a trough, you got to self-police and regulate, because if you F this up, I'm just going to take the whole damn thing away.
Yeah. Julie says, Nick Shirley lied. All those daycares were investigated and found to be legit. Investigated by who? Who said they are legit? The corrupt organizations?
Here's what they did. You ready? Hey, this is Joe from the Youngstown Times. Are you a legit daycare? Yes, you are.
Yes.
Hey, this is Joe from. Are you They're all freaking legit. Nick lied. That investigations that go super fast aren't really investigations. So if you've only had a week and there were thousands of daycares, you're telling me that they investigated and made sure they were all on the up and up in that period of time? I call BS.
I mean, and let's look at it then. I mean, Nick went, he had a camera, he had interviews, he had documentation. Okay. If you investigated, show us what you did. What did that lead to? Give us some insight into it. Who ran the investigation? What are they tied to? Why would Nick Shirley lie? What's in it for him? What's in it for these investigators, and what did they do? Like, just be transparent and show us.
And from this point, again, you've got really well-funded corruption, right? If you don't think that now they have stocked these daycares with actor kids or brought a bunch of people in so they could pass inspection, it's less meaningful at this point unless you get a forensic investigation going and you figure out what was happening prior to that story breaking. Before, did you read my Craigslist ad?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll read it to you. And I don't know that this is factual, but it seems it was an actual placed ad. I just don't know if it was actually.
Oh, I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daycare, hiring child actors for 3 days. Contract for Ventura Village. Help us daycare. Hi, all. My family runs a daycare in the city and I have over 5 years until Monday when funding was cruelly ripped away without cause. Due to this insane poor decision in the White House, in clear white supremacy, we had to close our doors immediately. We must prove we are a functioning daycare to get the funding back. The issue is the entire client base has already found new daycare services, so we need to find new client base quickly. To help hurry the state vetting process, we are looking to hire 20 child actors for 3 days while state is present on site. We pay up to $1,500 per actor per day. If you're interested, please send your child's age and a note of what makes your child a special actor. Please submit phone number as well, as we'll be doing quick phone interviews as part of the process. Thank you so much.
I did see that. I thought that was a joke.
No, that was actually posted on Craigslist, but anybody can post stuff on Craigslist.
Yeah, so, even as a joke.
And so if maybe you wanted to just like meme it and you create a real one, but still, I would not be surprised if after you have an industry get busted for, shanking the numbers and having like one child when you're getting paid for 120 children, to bring in some family members and people to make it look like it was a functioning daycare.
Yeah.
And there was another one that posted last night that there was a food services place, a place that was getting paid to serve 6,000 to 9,000 meals per day. And investigators watched it for, I think, 6 weeks. And in that 6 weeks, they counted about 40 people per day. So, and to me, even though they were serving some meals there, they weren't serving what they were being paid for, which was 6,000 plus. And so I don't know that any of this stuff is real. I just know they are all mathematically possible.
Yeah.
And if the people that are handing the money out can't prove to you in 2 seconds that it's legit, giving you proof that it was happening, then you cut their funding. Because this is the beginning of a conversation. If somebody says, hey, you're giving money to Bob to pay his rent, right? He gave you a sob story and you're paying his rent. I think he's going out and partying on the weekends, right? Would you keep, now that you have a suspicion that he was not using your money the way that was intended, you as the person giving it, now what is the new standard? Would you, the next time you hand it out, would there be different rules governing it? Would you pay it a little differently?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's so Julie had said, Kelin, why do you not believe in anything but totally believe in RFK? Don't totally believe in RFK. I believe in what makes sense. What makes more sense? What seems more legit? One man that just for no apparent reason hates kids. Oh, I'm just like this evil, like Dudley Do-Right. I hate children and I'm just going to steal from the kids and mine. Or is there fraud? Does fraud exist? Yes. Has fraud always existed? Yes. Have we found legitimate concerns when it comes to daycare fraud? Yes. So what would you do, and what would any rational person do? Audit.
Yep.
And it's not like this is the only time this happens. Why don't you go ahead and fill out a what's it called? The claim I had to do with the freaking state. Unemployment claim. And the moment the state thinks maybe you don't deserve this money, they're auditing you. They're looking at you. Why don't you go ahead and make a mistake on your taxes and tell me if the state stops your funding and questions you? Anybody, if you were a business owner and you're like, oh my God, where's all this money going? Or what's all this? You're going to immediately stop everything and do an audit and look into something. So why is it some evil man who hates kids and wants to take money from kids and not, holy shit, there's fraud and we better do what makes sense and hold the money until we know where it's going?
Yeah, it's the origin of a curiosity. Everybody should, do you want to spend money and help people that need it? Yes. Do you want to starve people who are just, stealing? Yes. So both can be true, right? And if you want to quell now the people are like, I know it was going on, but now I see an example of it. If someone's like, hey, there's somebody behind that red curtain. And there's going to be people that says, no, don't look behind that curtain.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, okay, well, I don't know that there's someone behind that curtain. But now, since you brought it up, let's go make sure there's somebody behind that curtain or not.
Why is it hate this man who is stopping everything and not hate the person making them stop it? Why is it not, hey, why don't you all, I don't know, stop looking shady and stealing money, and what are you doing here? Because you're making them stop payments for people who actually need it. No, the outrage is, oh, you stopped payments for people who actually need it. Of course they did. Of course they did. If your money, and by the way, it was going to fraud and being wasted, would you not want the government to be like, hold up, Julie just paid hundreds of thousands of dollars into this organization, and I think you're stealing it. Can we look at your books? Or, Julie, stop complaining. Just let them do their thing.
But there is precedence for this. If a mob had a bar that was a front for selling weapons, right? Yeah. And someone was like, hey guys, they're selling weapons. And then other people are like, no, look at all these people that on their lunch break coming here and getting drinks and they're being served. Look, there is freaking food there. And someone's like, well, no, they're doing weapons. That's the front. The weapons are in the back, right?
They're money laundering.
So then they investigate and they find, oh, there is weapons here. And then those same people are like, okay, there's weapons, but we can't hurt the patrons up front. You can't shut down the bar just because of the weapons. And then the government's like, oh, no, it was the front. And that part of the business dies with the back part. So make sure that you don't involve your legitimate business in with your corrupt business, because they both go down when it gets discovered.
Yeah. Yep. Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families found them to be in compliance.
Who's them? Because here's the rubric here. There is not zero fraud, and there's not 100% fraud. So which means you're going to find fraudulent ones and you're going to find legitimate ones. So if you want to prove that no fraud was going to happen, all you're going to do is find all of the legitimate ones. If you want the other side, then you're going to find all fraud. The truth is right in between those two ones. So really, all law enforcement has to say is we're going to investigate, we're going to audit. The ones that are likely fraud, they're shut down. And the ones that were legitimate, we're going to find a way to get them funded. That's all you'd have to say to me.
Yeah, Julie says, so the answer is to shut down all daycares and cause hardship to working families?
No, listen. This isn't shutting down a daycare and saying you can't do this. It's removing the federal funding where a business is able to operate for free.
Yeah. Nobody said you have to close your doors.
No, you just have to.
You're not taking my money.
Charge tuition to the people who are bringing their people there. Again, just another welfare program that gets obliterated with fraud, right? Competing directly against the real daycare industry. If you don't think that the freeloaders are going to go away and they're going to be replaced, if there's a demand for daycare in an area, right? Then a daycare will sprout. But a daycare won't sprout if they're being competed against on fraudulent basis from people who aren't really doing daycare.
Julie says this whole thing was begun by a YouTuber that totally fabricated a story that was hired by a Republican congresswoman in Minnesota.
Fill in the how is it fabricated. I watched this guy go to the places, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of the day. So was it the middle of the day, or was it that he didn't really go to those places? What part was fabricated?
Do you think that these businesses were all actors? Were they people pretending to be daycare owners? And
well, I implore you guys. I don't want to tell you. Go watch it for yourself, and if change industries and say if you did that to anyone else, does it look suspicious? Should it be investigated because of how off it feels? If you went and found one, that'd be a different story. What's the likelihood that you go into a home healthcare place and every person in that building is of Somali descent in a program that gets federal funding, and there's no people that will talk to you about their business? I'm not saying that's what's happening. There might be a couple of them in there that are good, but they might all be good. And that's really easy to plead your case. And I think anybody that's receiving $1 of taxpayer money needs to defend themselves when asked, what are you doing?
And what's funny is there's always like a shred of truth in things which make it all the other lies believable. Maybe he was hired by a Republican congresswoman. Could that be because she's like, why don't you come expose all this fraud? I'm seeing what's happening. Yes, because the media is captured and they're not going to expose it. And this is actually going on. So why don't you go expose it? Why is it always you just believe that, oh, hey, let's pretend there's a bunch of fraud and let's make up a story and let's just make everybody look bad? It could be. It could be one or the other. So look at both. What makes sense? What's easier to do? Who's benefiting? Because we know there is fraud.
My spidey senses go up, and this only happens in a couple of different areas. The first one was the voter fraud. Somebody says there's voter fraud, and immediately the Julies of the world say, no, there's no voter fraud. Don't look there. And that's if you use an absolute and say that human nature isn't revealing itself in an industry where people don't want to cheat, and you don't even want anybody to look, and you want to just you punish the people who are even asking the question, I get very suspicious. You have an interest in defending the illegality of what's happening. I think anybody should be able to in racing, right? Everybody's cheating in racing. Okay?
Everybody's cheating.
Everybody's cheating. If you win, it wasn't because you're a better driver than me. You absolutely cheated, right? So everybody feels that there's some shady shit going on. So there's a rule. There's a teardown rule. If you feel like someone's cheating, then you can have a referee, not a referee,
like an official.
You can have an official find the cheating. And if they find cheating, then you were right. Nothing happens. But if they don't find any cheating, you pay $2,000. Okay. And what happens is we don't just throw around accusations, because if I'm wrong, the accusations cost me. And so in politics, there's no teardown fee, right? You could just accuse anybody of anything if you don't like what they're saying, and there's no repercussions whatsoever for doing it. And so we get this messiness of, you get defenses from Democrats when their, golden baskets are hit. They like fraud in elections because they get elected. They like compromising in welfare benefits because it benefits their group. You don't ever see them defending it with the same criticism or cynicism in departments that they don't benefit from. So I'm highly suspicious when they go uber defensive about something. This period in the Trump administration is rough, though, because no matter what, they'll defend against it. If Trump says X, they hate him so much that they will go Y, and they don't even know why they're on Y, but they're on Y.
Yeah. And that's kind of what, like, again, I love Julie, but feels a little like defending against all odds. Like, fraud is not new. Fraud happens. It's not made up. It happens in a lot of situations, locally, nationally, everywhere. And it feels like some people are so quick to be like, no, this isn't happening. Like, why is it so hard for you to consider it? It could be. Yeah. It could be happening. The people that you've trusted might not be trustworthy. And it's when I see someone so unwilling to even consider it, is like,
very suspicious.
Yeah.
Nick Shirley admitted to the local news that he went to the ABC Learning Center at 11 a.m. when the business didn't open until 2 p.m. I'm sure I watched a bunch of them, and I'm sure that some of them were not legitimate. But again, it's the origin of the curiosity. I think there's a drug house in that house.
Yeah.
It means that you might have an axe to grind. You might be completely fabricating it. It doesn't mean that law enforcement's like, I'm not going to investigate.
Yeah. And to me, that would make total sense, because anybody who has ever visited a daycare knows, at least a good daycare, if you don't have a kid there, you were not permitted in. They have to protect children, and not anybody can just come into the daycare. At least that's how it should be. So obviously he would want to go to when there are no children and get some information. Yes, some instances he wants to see if there are kids here, but him going when there are no children, you can still get information. You can still say, I would like to learn more about what you do here. I would like some cost information. Can I enroll someone in here? There's a lot he can find out if it's not daycare providing hours, if that makes sense.
But it's the other levels of suspicion. The single owner group that owns all of them, that giving to Democrat, what is that? Act Blue. All of these things add up to, even if he was wrong on a bunch of it, it's still worthy of saying what's going on here, and make sure that it's not what was feared or what is likely to be occurring.
And I mean, by all means, let's say we're cutting all funding to Minnesota until we figure this out.
Yeah.
And then they say, you know what? We did a thorough investigation, and I think maybe this was fabricated. I think maybe Nick Shirley was hired, and maybe it's not as nearly as bad as he claimed, and he was kind of in the pocket of someone, and we're good to go. Here's your funding again. Fine. I'm at least like, thank God we're looking into something.
Right. And if they go legitimate now because they've been outed that way, great. Then there'll actually be kids there.
Yeah, at the very least now fraudsters are like, oh crap.
Not doing that.
Yeah, we better really watch what we're doing because they're auditing everybody.
Unless they're all child actors and they're using all of that money to give to children.
Penny Lane says, nobody is questioning whether fraud is happening. It is the way it's been characterized. Like 70 people have been indicted. Why single out the Somali population? They are naturalized here. I don't think are we singling out the Somali population, or is it just the fact that some of these people happen to be Somali? Like, to me, that's another tactic the left is using, is you cannot in any way describe somebody being looked at without them automatically saying you're only looking at them because they're this minority. Like, had Nick Shirley in no way ever said Somali, would you then believe him? And is he saying Somali for a reason? As in, well, this just happens to be a group that is working with them because they have something to gain and they have something to gain. And that's why saying Somali is important. But the left sort of says, oh, you just don't like these minorities and you're singling them out. He's not singling them out. They just happen to be that group. And there's fraud around.
So it's reasonable to ask that question. But if you had a group that you intended to bring to Minneapolis or wherever in Minnesota, and you use government systems to get money into that community, when you investigate that group that is taking advantage of it more than any other group, they're going to be Somalian because that was the point.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if I went and tried to get a grant for entrepreneurship, right? And it applies to minority business owners. Now, if there's fraud with a program that I can't get because I'm not a minority business owner, when you investigate, what are you doing? You are investigating all minorities. Why did you pick that group, Joe? Because that is what the program caters to. And it's impossible to audit Joe for a minority entrepreneur grant because it doesn't apply to me. So every one of these DI programs segmented out and gave special treatment and privilege to someone. And so you investigate it, it's going to apply to that group. Women entrepreneurs, same thing. If I investigated the women grant for entrepreneurs, it's going to be all women. And so like when they go to Columbus, okay, so if they found a bunch of daycares in Columbus that were fraudulent as well, right? They're investigating all over the place now. It's a hot topic. Now, if they go there, and what happens if all of those are Somalis, right?
Well, clearly, then you just hate Somalis.
Or there was a program that were specific for Somalians, and people in Columbus were like, we're going to do it too.
Yeah. Like, things can actually just make sense and have a reason.
Right.
Not everything is just somebody singling somebody out because there's some bigot, bias, racist, whatever.
But again, it's a reasonable ask that let's just say that there were fraud in other ethnic groups or different populations. And the Department of Justice decided not to investigate those ones. Now that's the origin of a different suspicion. Is the law being wielded against a group of people specifically? And that's again, if you investigate, you can communicate whether or not that was the case by looking at who they're investigating, who gets indicted, who ends up in jail. And you can, again, there's more conversation to be had in both of those. I want to know that too. I don't want the law to be wielded against a group of people specifically. I want it to be wielded against all people that are participating in a welfare program and taking advantage of it and cutting out people who need it and getting really rich off of the taxpayer.
Yeah, and that's what kills me too, is people want to sit there and go, why are we meddling in all these other foreign affairs when we have our own people here who are suffering? Gee, let me think. How are our own people suffering going to get money when we're giving it to all these other people fraudulently? Yeah. But you go after them and, oh, what a heartless bastard you are.
Every government trough that you set up is going to have corruption. And instead of 80,000 IRS agents, you have trough auditors. Anybody that's pulling a buck, you regularly investigate them and make them prove. They have a higher standard to hit than regular people. The minute that you take a government dime, you now have to prove to the government on a regular basis that you're just not sucking off the teat of government. Yep. And you need to prove that you still deserve that. Maybe every week, maybe every month.
Look at what I keep coming back to this as an example, but look at unemployment benefits. If you get laid off from a job and you decide to go to the government and say, I lost my job, I need money, I want to collect unemployment benefits. You have guidelines. You have things you have to do. You better turn in so many businesses a week that you are applying. You better show me you're applying for jobs. You better show me you're interviewing. You better show me you're looking for work. I'm not paying you for nothing. There are guidelines, but it's like all of a sudden we want to turn a blind eye to guidelines and auditing, and now it's not fair. And it's not fair what? Because someone from another country is being audited? That's not fair. They'll do it to Americans. They'll do it to you. They'll do it to me. Why is it now the bad guys are looking? Because why? Because now you feel bad for them that they're foreign? Makes no sense.
Yeah, it's way smaller scale than I'm hopeful for, because I believe there's corruption in every corner. And it's so long that we have sort of a new principle that we're going to protect taxpayers instead of the people who are sucking off that teat. That's my hope.
Yeah. They aren't just cutting funding to Minnesota. They cut funding to the entire country.
Until they can figure it out. That is a good call.
They're not just looking at Minnesota. Like you said, it was found in Ohio, and they're looking at other areas too. Why just the Somalis? Don't tell me that the Somalis haven't been targeted, especially Ilhan Omar.
Yeah. And they have. I mean, she's already said publicly that she is in support of Somalia first and the American public second. She is an enemy within our own legislature. She's outwardly saying it, and she felt like she could get away with saying stuff like that. So if you had somebody in Congress who's like, yeah, I'm Italian and I'm a mafia guy and I'm going to protect my own people, right? You are communicating that you should be looked at because you're probably not protecting the interests of all taxpayers. It's probably one group that you're really singling out. And if you can give extra advantage to your group, that's not what the rest of us are going to be cool with.
Yeah. We're not just going to go on a wild goose chase. We're going to go with what makes sense.
Yeah. And that, again, that's just the pop-off point where, because it was so blatant and so exaggerated that, every city needs to be visited with the same kind of,
yeah, many were born here. Why are you saying they are Somali? They are just as much American. That's what we're saying. Like, when I say we, the people doing investigating are being accused of going after Somalians. And then you say, well, they're American too. They're whatever. You're saying they're only going after Somalians. We're saying they're investigating fraud. And if some are Somalians, which leads them to look at other Somalians, they are not just singling out Somalians. They're looking at everyone, and here's the path they're following. It's not like they were like, I think I'll go and inconvenience all Somali American lives today. Like, I think I'll just, maybe today I'm going to go after this group. I'm just going to go, like, here's what's happening. There is a reason. They're not just choosing a group to go and I think I'll just go cause trouble for them today.
I just wish the conversation turned from the, hey, let's make sure it's not, going after that one group, and let's just find out everybody's committing fraud and put them all in jail and starve their funding. That's it.
Yeah.
This should be good. Mr. Carter, welcome to the program. The Democrats always seem to back the criminal rather than the victims. And there's a lot of power in that to be on the villain side. You watch that with the those that were deported, now on Team Maduro, on the drug dealer. Like, it's always that. That's like, the playbook.
And I'd love, like, maybe Julie would be a good person maybe for this pushback, is convince me the left does not always support the criminals. Like, because it's really starting to look that way. And I think anybody, whether you're left or right or middle, you got to admit, it really does look like you're programmed to support the criminal. Somebody does something they shouldn't have done, and you want to find all the reasons why the accuser is wrong. Instead of being like, oh my God, did you do this? Let's look into this. That's unacceptable. Hey, we need some audits here. Hey, we need an investigation. Hey, we need whatever. But when you do sort of lean to immediately push back against somebody who's pointing a finger, you're kind of hard then to side with in anything.
Again, BS Joe. Omar never said that. Read the entire speech. I've listened to that actual speech, and she was not in front. She was not at her podium in the Capitol. She was in front of Somalians, like her supporters, and she was pro-Somalian in her capacity as a legislator. Penny said, no, Trump is presenting them as subhuman. He always talked about Somalia. Well, the country of Somalia is a shithole country. And all you have to do is, do a Google search on what life is like in Somalia. And it is a shithole country. It's not run well. It's not very pro-education. There's lots of crime. There's lots of corruption. And so if you were to import a group, a culture into us, Somalia would not be my first pick. It really would not. Trump hates them. Google's comments over the year, he's targeting them. Columbus as well as Minnesota have huge Somali populations. Penny says Trump is a criminal and a fraudster. Why wouldn't we go after? And the left, Trump is a 34-time felon and all the Epstein list, you have to be trolling.
Here's an example of let's protect the criminals. You care more about hating Trump than finding fraud. Let that sink in. If you care more about hating Trump than wasting your money, you as a taxpayer, if you're throwing your money away, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're living a legal life with integrity and trying to help the world and have your family prosper, and you're throwing your money away so that the powers that be in government can completely waste it for their own agenda and to push anything, regardless of the Republican or Democrat. And you want to argue about what a jerk Trump is instead of that, you're doing exactly what the left wants you to do. That's exactly their gameplay is don't look at any other issue. Don't look at what we could or could not be doing. Don't look at any fraud. Don't look at anything suspicious. Just keep hating the orange man.
But, okay, let's take Trump out of it. Let's just say Trump's not even involved, right? It was just Nick Shirley did his thing, and he found some fraud, and Trump didn't say anything about it. Are you going to argue that you would like to not pay attention to the Somalis and just let the corruption and the fraud go on because they are Somali? Like, we're literally talking about if there's corruption, I don't care who is, where you start, you're going to start with a group. And no matter what, if you start with that group, keep the dominoes falling and hit all of the groups. Now, if Trump is like, all right, Somalis are done, they're pulling out, No, I'm going to say keep going. See if there's any other people that are protected in some kind of grant, block grant program that are also misspending that money. So if we started in the group that Trump hated most, fine. They still committed fraud and there is still corruption, regardless if he hates those people or not.
And you can still hate somebody that you think is not a good person. And by all means, you got plenty of ammunition there, and still hate the fraud and still want fraudsters to be punished.
Yeah. Again.
Yes.
No matter if you think he's a felon and he's a liar and he's a pedophile and whatnot.
Yeah. That's it. He's the criminal.
That does not change my angle on fraud.
All right. Does this make you feel better? Trump is a criminal. He's a criminal, racist, fascist, piece of crap, womanizer. I'd love to watch someone punch him in his face. And I don't want to see fraudulent daycare centers stealing taxpayer money.
Easy. That's the weakest argument ever, Kelin. Trump couldn't care less about law or the Constitution.
So let's overlook all the fraud. Let's overlook it. Like, you guys are totally getting off the point and what we're talking about because you hate him so much. Mm-hmm. You're right. Trump doesn't care. Trump wants a third term. Trump would take the Constitution and rip it to shreds if he could. Do you feel better? Okay. So there's fraud going on, and can we stop it?
Bingo.
Like, they are not synonymous. I don't care if he's a jerk. I care that he's a complete fraudster and using the Department of Justice to single out groups, especially where it benefits him. I could just keep saying what I've been saying.
That's all I got. That's like they'll say it in a different way.
Yeah.
When
Trump is singling out Somalis. There's fraud going on.
There's a crime that's being committed.
Yes.
And the guy that's in charge is going to go after one part of the crime. And then a new guy's going to come in there and go after a different part of the crime.
Yeah.
We'll just go after these different groups, but it's still crime in which they choose to pursue. Make there not be crime there anymore. And then you don't have people go using the Department of Justice.
If there's an investigation, this is totally hypothetical. Just go with it. If there is a deep dive investigation and both sides, Republicans and Democrats, come to find we have real legitimate proof Tim Walz is perpetrating fraud. He knew all about this. He's funding it. It's this whole scheme. The left has been in on it, and they're all criminals. Are you then going to say, let's shut that down? Or are you going to say, but Trump's the real criminal? Trump hates Somalis. Trump's a jerk. Or are you going to say, holy shit, here's fraud and let's handle it?
Here's a good example that you guys do this a lot. All right. The Epstein list. You want Trump to be on that list when there are hundreds, if not thousands of people. And the only person the Democrats really care about making sure, is it not like focusing your energy on punishing one person for something that there are many, many, many more people on? Like, I want the Epstein list to come out, and I want both R's and D's to be put in prison for a really long time because I'm objective and I'm willing to say there's some people that did some bad stuff in Congress, like they're embezzling money and they're supporting fraudulent deals. But this one, right? Mm-hmm. This one, I want them to go to prison, that group. Right. Yeah. That's the group I want to go after. And we can get to the embezzlers later, but I'm going to take the group that I hate the most, which is the pedophiles. And you can make the argument, yeah, but there's embezzlers too, and you just hate that group. Why are you going after them specifically? I'm going to start with them, and then we'll roll down those other groups in the order of my list of hatreds.
Yep. How many fraudsters did Trump pardon?
Yeah. Okay.
So let's not look into it.
Let me set the stage on who Trump is. He's an egotist. He did business in New York, so he's probably done a lot of gray area things. He sexualized women and probably got to the point where he committed some crimes on the sexual side of things.
He's a bit arrogant.
He does things to feed his ego. He got caught in those felonies for the business practices of how he did business in New York. And all of that is true.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And is Kelin a fan of Trump? Not by any means. Is Joe a fan of Trump? But he is not a boogeyman that goes down for all the ills of our country. I think whatever Trump is, so is everybody else that's there. If you went, I bet you pick a random congressman and fine tooth comb that person from their critic's perspective. Could I get 34 felonies on any generic congressman? Yes, I could.
Mhm.
Okay. So that strategy of they're all guilty in my eyes,
Mhm.
and saying this one over here, let's treat that one different. No, here's what Libertarian Joe wants: that all of them are criminals, all of them are self-interest, all of them are egotistical, all of them lie. Give them so little power that they can't wield their terrible nature that is being a human being on the rest of us. Period. I'm not going to pick one of my favorite and make him the worst one.
Yep.
They're all the worst as far as I'm concerned. So you can come off that whole pro-Trump, anti-Trump thing and just take objectivity and apply it to all of the actions.
Yep.
All of them. Ones that benefit you, ones that don't benefit you, one that you're pro for. Just let's do truth and justice, be Superman, right? And apply it to everyone uniformly.
Yeah, because what ultimately happens here in the feed, and we're seeing it play out now, is it will be, but Trump did this, but Biden did this, but Trump did this, but Biden did this. And I'm like, this is what they want you to do. This is what both sides are banking on. Don't pay attention to any issue. Don't pay attention to anything we do. Don't pay attention to any fraud. Don't pay attention to how corrupt we are on your dime. You two just keep fighting each other and we'll continue.
I don't even think I don't think they're even conspiring to do that. I think that's a natural phenomenon. So like if
they know they can use.
So if you watch as a human being have something applied to them, this happened to me a number of years ago. I didn't 2 seconds stop at a stop sign, and I was in a city that was really crime ridden. I stopped at a stop sign and I got pulled over. And you know what the first thing I said to the cop? I said, this year you guys had 50 armed robberies in your city, and you're going to pull me over for stopping at a stop sign, right? So my interest was being threatened, and the cop's going to say, well, that's my job. It's way easier to stop people at stop signs and generate money for the city than go do a burglary and investigate. That's hard shit over there, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not overt corruption. They didn't make this goal within the city hall, like, let's ignore all of the. It's human nature to go after the low-hanging fruit, to serve yourself while being able to do enough that somebody's going to tolerate. Now, I was a little prick when it comes to being pulled over. Most people wouldn't put it through through that lens to say that there was an injustice in that. While you have tons of crime over here, you're going to pick on little old Joe and give him $100 ticket for going through a stop sign. It was reasonable, right?
Yeah.
But still, if you're looking on the macro level, then those two things are not as connected as you presume.
We missed a bunch of comments.
Getting everybody fired up today. You are.
Yeah. That's fine. Find fraud wherever you can find it. But Jesus, at least look at the bigger picture here and don't find ways to defend everything that's going on. Yes, it's Medicaid. It's Medicare. There is some percentage of fraud.
So what was the request? Don't try to defend what?
Find ways to defend everything that's going on.
Of the law. I will always do that 100% of the time. If there's a news item that says that some illegal activity happened, my justice brain goes to, well, let's find out. And if it is, they go to prison. That's uniform. I don't care what group we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm defending it only because we need more application of the law, not less. And if you turn a blind eye because it's your favorite group, you're arguing for less law. I'm arguing for more law.
Yep. Tim Walz investigated the fraud committed by the white woman with some Somalis involved. Only the Somalis were mentioned. COVID-19 funds Biden convicted.
Yeah, and it's probably more widespread than they were investigating. And this story will make them investigate a whole lot more because now political pressure is put on it. They're going to find way more than would have normally happened because of human nature. We get apathetic. There's no problem. Like, who cares if a bunch of Somalis are collecting a free check and don't have to have it? Nobody's going to give two shits about it, right? Because we're tax the billionaires. We'll just pay more money, right? Give it to more Somalis. But then when somebody says, hey, taxpayers, Your money's just being given to people that are completely shanking this program. And we're like, oh, that's just origin. There's tons of shanked programs out there that investigate more, not less.
Yep. Let's see. Your defense keep getting stretched further. It's amazing. You say liberals sound alike in their hatred, but the fact that you have no standard for your leaders, I don't know if it's sad or a part of the rationale that you hear a lot on Fox. We have no standard for our leaders.
No, I have a principled standard that applies in every direction.
Yeah.
And one standard that I wish I could have, which all of our leaders had integrity and were noble. And I can't have that standard because I would filter out every single person that was representing and leading our country.
Yeah. It doesn't exist.
I wish I had that.
I want a stand-up person that has decorum and is respectful and is respected and doesn't do anything wrong and never does anything for their own self-gain. So when that exists, y'all tell us.
I watch people like Mitt Romney, who I felt like had a standard above most politicians. He probably had his own gray areas too, but he was way better than what we see now. And what did the media do to him? What did Democrats do to him? We didn't put him on a pedestal. We tried to then impugn his integrity, and we tried to put him on the chopping block. So if you do that to a good person, then you're not really trying to get good people in there. Trump is a punching in your face bully. And if you're going to take a passive, I'm going to steal from everybody politician that flies below the radar versus a break the status quo, sometimes you got to have the big old asshole that's going to punch everybody that you want punched. And he too needs to get punched at the same time. But everybody's there. That's what I'm saying. I'm not making any exclusion for saying, well, that one's a good one. The real people, the John Fettermans and the who's the dude from this weekend, Tom Massey and Rand Paul. Those are the people who are like, I've got a principle and it's not going to be popular and I'm going to go against my party. Those are the real brave ones out there. And how I can only name on my fingers how many of those actually exist. I wish that was the standard where you see the Nancy Pelosi's and the Ilhan Omar sometimes use a principle and vote against their party, but you never have that.
And do you ever see anyone like one of those people ever becoming president?
No, never.
They're screwed.
The game that we're playing does not give advantage to people who have integrity, have morals, have principles, who try to be honest, who try not to, try to follow all of the rules, etc. So, and if you do that, if you want to have more lawlessness, then you get more of those types of people. I'm telling you, Democrats are more responsible for Trump than Republicans ever were. You created that monster, right? And then you're dealing with it. I know why you hate him, because you made him.
You hate him because you made him.
Hate him because you made him.
I think we're out of time. I think BJ said 5 minutes ago, like twice.
All right. Well, we got 45 seconds. Minutes. Let me read a couple of these and give you a quick response. Well, not at all. Politicians are transactional. Your defenses keep.
We read that one. No, you can't keep deferring to both sidism. Yes, I can.
Where is Isaac? You guys are far gone. I'll argue with him tomorrow about it. They're eating the cost. They're eating
cats. They're eating the cats.
Dogs.
They're eating the dogs.
Keep an eye on James Terrifico. All right. We're going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.